Hi everyone, I'm Mark Duiker, developer advocate at Diagrid and one of the Dapr community managers. And today we are doing another Dapr University workshop, and this is how to run Dapr applications, most specifically workflow applications, using Diagrid Catalyst. And the topics that we're going to cover is we're going to explain what Diagrid Catalyst is and why companies like to use it to run their Dapr workflow applications. You'll learn how to use the Diagrid CLI to log in and to run your applications. We'll then look into running Dapr applications that's using the Dapr Pub Sub API while using the Diagrid-managed Pub Sub service. Then we'll run a demo that's using the Diagrid-managed KV store service. And finally, we'll run Dapr workflow applications first locally. So I can share something very new, and that's the Diagrid dashboard. But then we'll come back and actually show what kind of options there are in Diagrid Catalyst for visualizing your workflow and managing it. So you can follow along in either .NET, Python, Java, or JavaScript. So let's get started. So if you follow the link, you should see this. So this explains a bit about the workshop. If you join today, you can still access this workspace environment in the next 2 weeks, and you can play this content or actually run this workshop up to 5 times in total. So feel free to do that. And if you complete all the challenges, you can actually claim this digital badge. Okay, so you start by pressing the start button in the bottom right. So there we go. And this first is an explanation about what Diagrid Catalyst is. So Catalyst is the enterprise platform for workflow orchestration and running agentic AI, service discovery, and Pub Sub, and it's powered by open source Dapr. It provides a centralized control plane to manage Dapr applications and workflows across multiple environments, including Kubernetes, VMs, serverless, bare metal, and hybrid environments. So this diagram shows you what's your responsibility. So you can write your applications in whatever language you want. Use the Dapr SDK in these languages, and you can build your workflows. You can build your AI agents. Use all of the Dapr APIs that are out there. But you're responsible for actually hosting and running your own application. But you don't have to worry about running and managing the Dapr runtime anymore, because that's what Catalyst will take over. So you'll be communicating with Catalyst, and that provides the managed Dapr runtime, which now includes a managed workflow engine. So in this session, we're going to look first into the Pub Sub API, then the State API, and we'll conclude with running some workflows. And since it's based on open source Dapr, Dapr provides the abstraction, so you can still configure your own data stores, your own message brokers, secrets, and LLMs. Now, why would you use Catalyst? Well, you can use Catalyst to quickly run and test your Dapr applications, including durable workflows and agentic systems. And a lot of organizations already use Dapr to speed up their development of cloud-native applications. So typically up to 30% time savings can be used when developing with Dapr compared to without Dapr. And what Catalyst then offers on top is the ability to centrally manage and govern your Dapr applications across multiple teams and environments. It also offers like really nice workflow visualization and monitoring and debugging capabilities that are not available in Dapr open source. So here's a screenshot of the workflow visualizer. So you can very clearly see like a graphical representation of your workflow. And this is still like quite a straightforward sequential one, but also if you do like fan in, fan out, it looks very nice in this visualizer. And you don't see it here, but you can even include all of the durations of all of the activities. So you can very clearly see where the bottlenecks are in your workflow. All right, so what Catalyst offers are like centralized Dapr APIs and also indeed the workflow API. You can really bring governance to your projects. It also uses an optimized workflow engine, so it's great for those long-running applications. And you can orchestrate long-living agents with memory. So it's also great. All right, let's move to the next one. And in this challenge, we'll actually make sure that we register for a free Diagrid Catalyst account and install the CLI. So let's do this. So you should see eventually a login screen here to log into Catalyst. And if you click in this window and then scroll a bit with your mouse while hitting Control or Command, you can actually zoom in or out a bit. So that's the first thing we're going to do. So if you already have a Catalyst account, sign in here with either Google or GitHub or with your email. If you don't have an account yet, go follow and do the sign up procedure. If somehow this sort of iframed window doesn't work for you in this cloud-based environment, you can go to catalyst.diagrid.io and register from there. So I will sign in with my Google account. And my password. And then I need to confirm my login. There we go. Yes, it's me. All right, and this should bring me into Catalyst. Yes, there we go. And if you're here for the first time, you probably don't see this organization view, but you probably see this getting started view, which gives a bit more context, and it gives you like a create your first project and check out documentation and different kind of use cases. Feel free to follow that another time, but right now we can just follow the instructions here on the right side of the screen. All right, so I'll be now logged into the Diagrid website, the Diagrid portal, but we're going to run some applications locally in this cloud-based environment. So for that, we will need the Diagrid CLI. So let's download the CLI, and you can do that with this curl command. So if you click this run button here, it's actually executing right here in this terminal. So now it's downloaded. Let's move the executable to our user folder so we can run it. And let's actually try if it works by running Diagrid-H to see all of the commands available there. So here we see all the commands. We are only scratching the surface here in this workshop. So we only do like a very limited number of the commands using the CLI. Now let's log into Catalyst via the CLI, right? Because we are logged into the browser, but not via the CLI yet. So we can't really use it as is. So let's use Diagrid login and then provide this no browser flag. So this no browser flag is only necessary because we are sort of in a restricted environment here in this sandbox. Normally, if you run it on your local machine, you just do Diagrid login and it will pop up a new browser window. Right, so it shows me a link, login at diagrid.io, and then activate, and then it gives me a user code, which I need to confirm. So you click on this link, and if you're not logged in yet already in Catalyst, you need to log in here as well, but I'm already logged in this browser, so I can confirm the code that this is the same as I saw in the terminal. Okay, this is all set. I can close this window, and we come back, and I need to confirm this, so I press yes and enter. So now we see I'm logged in and also using a certain organization. So I'm successfully authenticated. All right, so this worked. We can also run the Diagrid who am I command, which also gives us a bit more information how we are logged in. So I just ran it. It gives me the organization. It gives me the username and my email, which products I'm currently using, because with the Diagrid CLI, you can also interact with our other products like Conductor. But it says Catalyst here and the API that we're talking to. So this is all fine. So now we are logged into the browser and we are logged in via the CLI. So now we can actually start using them. Right, so in this one challenge, we're going to run 2 Dapr applications that communicate via a pub sub service. And this pub sub service is actually hosted by Diagrid Catalyst. So let's have a look. So here in this diagram, you'll see what we're running. So we have 2 applications, which in this case we are running locally in our cloud environment, but these could also be like running in Azure or running in Amazon or GCP or maybe on your on-premise cluster. And even though these 2 are Dapr applications, they don't talk with a Dapr sidecar directly because we are, instead of talking to Dapr and the Dapr sidecar, we are talking to Catalyst. So that we are talking to the managed version of Dapr. So we're using the PubSub API of Dapr, but we are talking to application IDs in Catalyst, because each application requires a unique identity in Catalyst. So we have a publisher app ID that belongs to our publisher application, and we also have a subscriber application ID in Catalyst that belongs to our subscriber application. And the PubSub will actually be handled by the Diagrid built-in PubSub. So this is just a convenience if you want to do some initial testing. You can use this Diagrid PubSub. Probably it's very likely that you already have a message broker solution, so that you can configure that yourself as well. So let's explore the application now. I'll be choosing .NET, but you can also choose like Java or Python or JavaScript. I'm most familiar with .NET, so I'll do the .NET ones. So let's have a look at the publisher first. So I'm opening the program CS file. And here we see that we create an instance of the Dapr client. We also retrieve the name of the PubSub component from an environment variable, or in case that's empty, we just say it's PubSub. You can ignore this health check endpoint, and here we see the order endpoint. It's a post order endpoint that we're going to call, and we provide an order payload. And once we call that, there is this try catch, and in this try we use the Dapr client to do a publish event async. So that's the method, and then we specify the name of the PubSub component. We specify the topic name and the payload. And the payload is of type order, and you can see the order right here. It's just a very basic payload. It's just a record with just one property, an integer of order ID. The application logs that the publish is successful, and it gives back a results created. So that's the publishing side. And let's have a look at the subscriber side. It's here. So the subscriber side, we see that a new order endpoint is used, and it just logs that the order was received, and it gives back the results okay. So actually this code doesn't use the Dapr SDK at all. And that's because it's using a declarative subscription. And a declarative subscription is always written in YAML. So we can see a subscription.yaml here. So when you would run this application locally, you would use a PubSub component here. So this is using a PubSub Redis, and we have a subscription YAML, and that's pointing to the same PubSub configuration, and to a orders topic, and then the new order endpoint. That's the route that is actually handling all of our subscriptions, and it's scoped to our subscriber service. What's also here is this YAML file. So this is a Dapr multi-app run file, and this is used to actually start up all our applications in one go, so we don't have to use Dapr CLI for every individual service. So it points to some common things. So where both applications use this PubSub YAML, and the subscriber uses this subscription YAML. And there's like two applications. We have a publisher application in this folder, and we're going to use the .NET run command to start it. And there is a subscriber application in this folder, and again we can use the .NET run command to start that. So let's say you're done with your local development based on this Redis container that uses Redis streams, and then you move on to another environment, and that's where you want to use Catalyst. So let's actually run this. First, got to move into the right folder. Here we go. I'm going to restore my two projects. And once that's done, then I will use the Diagrid CLI to actually run these two applications locally, but also provision all of the required resources on the Catalyst side. So let me first run this, and then I'll explain what happens. So I'm doing Diagrid dev run, and I'm pointing to this same YAML file that I've opened here. Then I also provide what is the project that I want to run this under at the Catalyst side. And I'm also giving an approve flag to automatically create the project and the required resources. So in this case, Catalyst is completely blank. There were no project yet, no resources. So in this case, Catalyst is provisioning a new project for me to create an app ID for both the publisher and an app ID for the subscriber. And it will also provision the built-in Diagrid PubSub service and a topic and a subscription. So there's very little that I have to do after I've run this command. All right, so everything is now being built and being run. And the final things you see is that both app IDs are now connected to our local application. So a dev tunnel is being set up between this environment and the Catalyst backend for secure communication. So now I can make a post request to my publisher application to this order endpoint and providing a payload with this order ID. So let's do this. And we are going to execute that in the curl window. So that's here. And here we see that indeed the publisher logs that the publisher is successful, and the subscriber is actually saying that the order is received. Right. So we have this working now. You sent a message here, and that went through this app ID, through the Diagrid Pub sub to the subscriber, and then back to this subscriber locally. Okay, and what I'll do is I make a couple of more requests because some of the functionalities in Catalyst are based on traces, and then it's good that we have a couple of more of these traces. So I'm going to execute the same curl command like 3 times more to make sure we can actually see some data in Catalyst. All right, so now I will move to the Catalyst tab here. So this will bring us back in our organization view or our getting started screen. So we can move out of here. We can use the back button here to move back. And here we see our app IDs that have been generated by Catalyst. So we have a publisher and we have a subscriber. Now we can also open this, the Diagrid services, and we can click on the Diagrid Pub sub to see the managed Pub sub service. So we see a Pub sub service here. So if we drill down on this, and if I scroll down, there is a topic explorer. So we can see that a topic with the name orders have been created. And it has a total message count of 4 because I executed this curl command 4 times. And if we even expand this topic explorer, we can see which applications are subscribed to that. So in this case, we see that there is a subscriber application. If I click that, I'll be brought back to the application IDs. In this case, the application ID of the subscriber. And what we can see here is, well, for instance, we can have a look at some metrics. So we can have a look at the API activity. So we can see that we use the Pub sub subscribe API here. And we can see how many requests per second this has processed. We can also look at the different APIs. So in this case, all of the requests were handled by the new order endpoint. There's also like error rates that you can see here, and also latency. So there's quite a lot of metrics that are captured. Another thing we can have a look at is the API logs. So we can actually see the requests that have been made by the different applications from both the publisher and the subscriber. Now, the very nice thing of Catalyst is the call graph, because this gives you a good visual overview of your applications, but also the components that you're using. So we can see that the communication goes from our publisher to our subscriber. But if we click one of these, so for instance, if I click the publisher and then hit isolate, we can actually see that the publisher was sending events to the Diagrid-managed Pub sub, and that the subscriber was subscribing to this Pub sub. And you can even see the error rates and latency and requests per second here. All right. So this was a quick overview of the Pub sub capabilities using Catalyst. Let's move on to the next challenge, and that will be the state management API. So we'll now be looking just to one application, which is interacting with a state store using the Dapr state management API. So we have an order application here. In this case, we just run it locally, but again, you're running it maybe from another cloud provider. So this is communicating to the order app in Catalyst, its app ID, and that is then forwarding, communicating with the Diagrid KV store. So we are saving some state or getting some state or deleting state, in this case from our managed Dapr Diagrid KV store. But again, everything is based on Dapr open source, so you can use your own component definitions and create also new component definitions within Catalyst to actually configure different kinds of state stores. So let's have a look at the application. Again, I'll be using the .NET one. So if I look at the program CS file here, so what you see is we create an instance of the Dapr client. We retrieve the actual state store name and component name from an environment variable, or we default to the state store one. Again, there's like an endpoint or a health checkpoint. And here is the order endpoint. And this one, that's the one we're going to invoke. And here we use the client to do a save state async. So we mentioned the component name. We mentioned the key for this record we want to store. In this case, it's the order ID we use as a key, and the payload, and that's the order. We do some logging, and then we give back a results created. There's also a get endpoint to retrieve the state. And again, it's key value pair, so we just need to specify the order ID to retrieve it. So we use the client get state async to give back the key value pair. There's also a delete endpoint, which then deletes the state for a given order ID. And again, so the state store is configured here with this YAML file, right? So if you run this locally, you would probably use the state.redis because that comes pre-installed with the Dapr CLI. We also have this Dapr multi-app run file, which in this case contains only one application, our order app. But again, we can reuse this file with Diagrid Catalyst and make sure that everything will be provisioned based on this Dapr multi-app run file. So let me move into the right folder to actually run this application locally. We'll do a restore. All right, and then we do the Diagrid dev run again. And there's nothing very much different. So the only thing we're doing here is pointing to this multi-app run file. We are pointing to the same project. So in this case, we are reusing the existing project and specifying the approve again to automatically approve any creation of new resources there. So what will happen now at the Catalyst side is, well, if I can, let's have a look at it right now, is if we scroll back to the application IDs, there will be an app ID now for this order app. So that's already created, and it will also create an instance of the Diagrid-managed KV store. So we can see that we have a KV store here now. And if I scroll down, there's this data explorer, but it's completely empty yet because we haven't interacted with this application yet. So we didn't store any data yet, but we'll come back to this. All right, so the application is now running and connected with the Catalyst backend. So now we are going to make a request to, again, the order endpoint of this order application and providing this as a payload. So order ID 4 is what we should see. So again, I will run it like a couple of times to make sure it also ends up in the call graph. So I did it for the first time, and we see that the order app gives back a save state item successful, order saved for. So that's great. I'm going to run it like 2 more times to make sure it's visible in the call graph. All right, executed 3 times. All right. Again, so this is just the saving the state, but of course we can also retrieve the state by making this scroll request to the order endpoint and then providing the ID. So let's do that. And then we get state item successful, order retrieved for. So we successfully managed to invoke this locally running order app, which then interacts with our app ID, which then interacts with a managed Diagrid KV store. All right, so yeah, let's have a look at the managed KV store now. So if I go back to the Diagrid KV store, drill down here, so we indeed see the data explorer now shows this key order app and then the double pipe symbol and then 4, because by default the Dapr application ID is always used as a key prefix when interacting with state stores. So you can also expand this, and then you'll actually see the payload of the record. All right. And again, all the interactions that we did with this application are visible in the API log. So we can see that we have made a couple of requests to save some state, but also to get some state. And there are more records here, but it's just cut away because the window is very, very narrow. And again, if we go to the call graph, we see now that we have an order app here as well. And if we isolate on that, let me move around a bit, then we should also see that it interacts with a state store. And again, we can inspect the latency there as well. All right. So that's the basics of running Dapr applications against Catalyst with the managed KV store. Right, let's move on to the next one, and that's actually using Dapr Workflow. So now we can have a look at some nice workflow visualizations in Catalyst. All right, so what we will do is we will run a Dapr application that has a workflow that simulates some order processing. I'll make this a bit bigger so you can see it, hopefully. Yeah. All right, so what we'll do is we provide this workflow with an order payload, and then we first send a notification. And in this case, the notification just means we will do an application log. Then we will move to the next task or activity to actually reserve some inventory. If there is enough of inventory, then we'll move on to the process payment step, and then we'll actually do another update of the inventory. And if everything is successful, we'll do another notification, this time of success, and then we can end. So this is the happy flow. But in case the inventory is not enough, then we just say we go send an insufficient inventory notification. So that's one of the unhappy flows. And the other one is, for instance, when the update inventory fails, we notify a failure and then we stop. So there are different branches within this workflow app that you can think of. All right, I'll be showing the .NET one again. So this is the workflow file. Here we go. I'll make this a bit smaller. Yes. So this is our order processing workflow that we will start. So this contains a run async method, and this method contains all of the different activity steps. So this contains the actual sequence and all of the business logic, all of the if statements that define our business rules. So the first thing is it will call this notify activity, and this is the payload that it sends with it. So we have a notification record, which is just a notification as a string here. Then the next activity that we call is the reserve inventory activity. And what we get back is an inventory result. And that contains like a success property, which we then can use in our workflow. So in this case, if there's insufficient inventory, so this success will be false. So if this is false, then we do a notification. We set the custom status on the workflow instance with some extra context, which we can inspect later. And then we give back the new order result false, and then the workflow will stop. If the result is success, then we can continue with a process payment activity. We give this a payload, and then immediately afterwards we have a try catch statement. And the first activity that we call is update inventory. So this will again will make the actual inventory change. If this somehow fails, so if this somehow throws an exception, then this catch will be triggered, and then we do another notify activity that this update failed. And we also set the custom states again of the workflow instance to give a bit more context. But again, we will fail the workflow and provide back an order result with false. If the update inventory was successful, then we end with a final notify activity call where we say that the order has actually been completed. Right, so try catches in workflows, you can use that as well, of course, to do compensation actions. So maybe you do a certain action here in your try. In case something fails, you can do a call to another compensation here, which actually does the opposite of this first activity. Okay, so this is the workflow. I won't go into all of the activities because they're mostly the same. I will show you this program CS file. because this contains a bit of important information if you're building workflows. So what you always need to do is you need to register your workflows and all your activities that you're using by using this add Dapr Workflow on the service extension. This is only required for .NET, by the way. For all the other languages, you don't need to do this registration. And here we are creating a new instance of the workflow client. And this workflow client is actually used in this workflow start endpoint that we are going to use to trigger to start a new workflow instance. So what we're going to do is we're going to call this workflow start endpoint and giving it a order payload. We are creating a new GUID, and we then use the workflow client to schedule a new workflow. We provide the name of the workflow, we provide the input object, and we provide the instance ID. So workflows always need a unique identifier. In case you do not provide one, Dapr Workflow will generate one and it will give it back. So you can actually, the output of this, it will be the instance ID. All right, so let's, in this case, I won't run it in this environment now. I will quickly switch to my local environment because I want to demonstrate something else, and that's the Diagrid dashboard. So let me quickly show actually the same thing here. So here I have VS Code, but I have the same code here because all of the code in the cloud environment and the code here is exactly the same. I'm using the Catalyst Quick Starts repo for this. So we are looking at the same order processing workflow. Now, what I have running locally here is the Diagrid dashboard. And let me first run this Dapr application. So this is without Catalyst. I'm using Dapr run, pointing to this same multi-app run file that we've shown before to run my Dapr application completely locally. Then I'll invoke it and then I'll show you the dashboard. So now the Dapr application with my workflow code is running. Now I will invoke this workflow start method here locally by saying I want to buy 2 cars. So let me start this. Okay, and we get back an instance ID that starts with 88D. So now let's get back to our web browser, because here this should, yes, and here we go. So this is the Diagrid dashboard, and the first thing that you see once you open it is the workflow executions page, which lists all of the workflow executions. And you can see I've already did 2 of them earlier today, but this is the one we just started. This has instance ID that starts with 88D. So we can see that its status is completed. We can see the type of the workflow, the Dapr application ID, when it was started, when it ended, and if you hover over this clock, you can also see the duration. So this lasted for 7.5 seconds. We can click this instance ID to see all the workflow execution details. So again, there's the summary information, but here we can see the input of the workflow and also the output of the workflow. And below, we can actually see the entire execution history. So now this is shown in reverse. So at the top, this is the last event that happened. But if we scroll all the way down, this will be the first event that happens. So here we started the workflow, and here we can see all of the starts and completions of the individual activities. So for instance, if you look at the process payment activity that was started here, if we expand this, we can see the input for this activity. And if you look at the task completed for the same activity, we can also see the output of this individual activity, including all of the elapsed times. So it's really a nice environment to get all of your details about your workflow executions. In addition, it contains all kinds of links to other useful resources. For instance, there's a workflow composer that can help you like scaffold an entire code project that uses Dapr Workflow, links to Dapr University that we're using today, links to the Dapr Workflow docs, link to Catalyst itself, and also links to our Diagrid Discord. So yeah, please have a look at this dashboard and give us feedback on our Discord. I will also share the link actually right now. There we go. I will share the link to the blog post that explains how to use this. So here we go. All right, so I'm done with local development. I've tested it. I've visualized it using this this local dashboard. So now the next step is actually to run it against Catalyst to get even more information and to manage it from there. So I will run this .NET application now here. Make sure I do a restore. So instead of doing Dapr run, I'm now doing Diagrid dev run and pointing to the same YAML file. It's reusing the same Catalyst demo project. So let's start this. And again, I can move into Catalyst here to see actually the creation of this project. So if I scroll back up here and go to app IDs, you see that there's now a order workflow project being provisioned. So I'll give it a moment to wait until it's like completely provisioned and then starting. Okay, so our local application is now starting up. Okay, let's see if this provisioning is now done. Yeah, it is ready. Okay, so now I can make the same request as I did locally. So let's go to workflow/start. Let's do this. And now this workflow is actually being started. So now what we can do, this has a workflow visualizer here. And we can now see that you can see the name listed. We can see the number of executions. We can also see if it's running successfully or failed. In this case, it's a success. So let's drill down on this one. And when we click on this latest execution here, we again see some similar information, but we now can also see the actual graphical overview of our workflow. So this is where we start. These are the individual activities that have been executed. We also see the duration of all of these activities. And if I click these activities, we can actually see the input and output of these individual activities. And again, this is relatively straightforward workflow, which is like a very basic sequence. But yeah, if you have like more complex workflows that do like fan out, fan in, again, it will visualize this very nicely for you. All right, I think we have completed all of the challenges now. So if you want, feel free to follow this link because this will bring you to the Holopin platform. It requires a GitHub login, a GitHub account to actually claim this badge. So feel free to claim it, and yeah, please share it and on socials as well, so we can give it a thumbs up there. If you have any questions about this, you can leave some feedback at the end of this course or go to the Diagrid Discord server. Again, I will share the link in here. All right, and if you complete it now, there's actually an opportunity to actually give this a rating and also provide some feedback. So if you have some tips what could be better or what you liked, please share it here. So yeah, if you haven't run any of the other Dapr University tracks, yeah, please go ahead. So there's a Dapr 101 for really a Dapr introduction. We have one for Dapr Workflow. We have one for Dapr Agents. It's in maintenance at the moment, but it will be available again in a couple of days. And yeah, we're gonna build a lot more of these Dapr University tracks in the new year. So I hope to see you at a next webinar. Bye-bye.